It seems to me a measure of the true perversity of the human race that one of its very few reliably pleasurable activities should be the subject of so much hysteria and repression.
But not to repress yourself is to unleash all kinds of dangerous and destructive forces.
Our job is to make our patients capable of freedom.
Guten Abend, meine Herren und meine Freunde. Today we're going to talk about Otto Gross. This is part of a bigger series where I talk a lot about German anti-modernists. So who is Otto Gross? He was an Austrian psychoanalyst and the son of someone very important, Franz Gross. Franz Gross is one of the most important people within criminology, the founding father of criminal profiling, and he has contributed a lot to the field, which gave him extraordinary contacts throughout Europe. And this is something that he gave to his son. Otto had some of the best schooling, some of the best help, whatever necessary Franz Gross would give to his son.
I explained to her that this is merely a symbol of her wretched monogamous habits. I show her that it's fine to want to sleep with me, but only if at the same time she acknowledges to herself that she wants to sleep with a great many other people.
Suppose she doesn't.
Then it's my job to convince her that it's part of the illness.
Otto Gross, born in Graz on March 17th, 1877. Otto tried to be a very scientific person, trying to be rational in his science. A lot of Otto Gross's activities and even sexual tensions is between him and his father. He will talk about this a lot. His first book, with the name The Secondary Function of the Brain, is quite a fascinating one. Gross says, the life of emotion is always primitive. Some of these individuals have ideals to which they devote themselves heroically, and in this sense their emotional life can be called idealistic. Aber immer ist es banal. But still it is always banal. For one thing, they lack the richly various and interwoven connection of the upper consciousness with the erotic imagination. The knitting together of erotic factors with the higher imaginations of aesthetics, ethics, and social matters gives them imagination of their full power and their first beauty. The sublimation of the erotic drive never escaped the limits of triviality. In the type characterized by deep consciousness, there is strong drive through harmony and unity of experience, towards symbolic appreciation and simplification of the complex. Hence we get what is called the sensitive man, who can't achieve any careless, uninhibited self-expression, and who incline more to the aesthetic than to so-called effective action. The world is apprehended by such men in symbolic and visionary ways, and among them most of the new ideals are born. The opposition of this type can be described in the terms of the antithesis between the man of civilization and the man of culture, or between the realistic man of battle and the solitary shaper of images. The first is proper to stormy eras in which empires are established. The second is the product of high culture that grows out of that empire.
I should never have sent Otto Gross to you. I blame myself.
Now, I'm very grateful you did. All those provocative discussions helped crystallize a lot of my thinking.
Carl Jung did analyze Otto, and there was quite a lot he had to say about him. First, he was hypersensitive. He had begun to use morphine when he's unhappy in love. Meat disgusted him. He's ashamed to be seen part naked. He has no feeling for community. He had no sense of duty or patriotism. He could not eat at the table. He wouldn't take his clothes off to go to bed. He had a light on when he slept. He went to work at his clinic only at night, and barely he knew if it was day or night. And he was paranoid. He heard voices, heard knockings. He felt like someone was spying and plotting on him. After Jung had analyzed him, he said, Gross could not help identifying every important man in his life as his father, and every woman as his mother. Thus again, enthusiastic admiration, discipleship, and self-subordination. Gross knew about all of this, and he even analyzed himself a lot. This issue of seeing everything as his father made Gross work against ideas of patriarchy, because Freud declared Otto Gross's ideas as dangerous, which means, his father sees him dangerous. Freud is my father. Then Max Weber approved of Freud and disapproved of Gross, which makes Max Weber his father and the problem, so on and so forth. And let's see how all of this took shape.
He's an addict. I can see that now. He can only end by doing great harm to our movement.
And great harm he did, especially with his ideas of sexual liberation. And no, I'm not talking about the basic ideas of sexual liberation. I'm talking about he went fucking crazy about it. But first, to give a little funny insight, he was also a neo-pagan, or tried to be a neo-pagan, because of a book from 1861, A Mother's Right, an investigation of the religious and judicial character of matriarchy in the ancient world, which was a lot like Maria Gimbutas, but in particular, the most damning thing that Otto Gross did was with his helping of women to free them in his way of freeing them.
I've heard it said that you helped one of your patients to kill herself.
She was resolutely suicidal. I just explained how she could do it without botching it. Then I asked her if she didn't prefer the idea of becoming my lover. She opted for both.
That can't be what we want for our patients.
Freedom is freedom.
He helped 2 women kill themselves. In 1906, Lotte Hattemer, and in 1911, Sophie Benz. And well put as it is in this article from therapyroute.com, the only way to liberate themselves from the arms of their psychoanalysis was suicide. Diagnosed the 2 women as suffering from incurable mental illness. He left the poison with Lotte Hattemer killing herself lying within her reach. I declare support for euthanasia, commented Gross. A beautiful death is better than low probability of cure. And in the case of Sophie Benz, he said, when I no longer could intervene analytically, I had a duty to poison her.
So you've never slept with any of your patients?
Of course not.
There's a lot more to Otto, but I will keep it pretty brief because otherwise I will never publish it. Otto had a lot of influence on quite a lot of people. Max Weber, for example, but also Franz Kafka. Kafka was one of those people who understood Gross, understood the problems he had with his father because he could relate to it. While Kafka never really writes about Otto, he does take his ideas into consideration quite a lot in his writings.